everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's on YouTube, or welcome back. It is your 11th Nancy Drew Season 4 episode review. Approaching the end, just a few more weeks, well, 2 more weeks up to this, and then we are done with this story. It's still hitting me a little bit. There's still a fair amount they have to do to wrap it all up, but you know what, since, we're about to get there, still very excited to see how they're going to end off the show. Also, before I continue, yes, this is a bit of a different setup. I got into a little bit of a reorganization of the studio, or well, that's what George keeps calling this damn place. It's not a studio, but just merely my area where I shoot my videos, where I shoot my shit. So I've actually did a little remodeling. It's not done yet. I'm extremely exhausted, but I think the more heavier part is over, thankfully. And I think the next time, by next week, it will be the new setup, which will be of a bit of a jigger. I'm not going to lie to you. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get everything fully in order. But you know what? That's how we usually roll things around. So we'll see how that all goes when we come back next week. But for now, I do apologize. You get to see the entire... I think you can just see the background of, like, you're probably going to see, like, a double... I think I'm blocking the double me, I believe. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't really see the screen right now. The camera's right in the middle. But with that being said, going into this episode, this was a very nice, slow burn one, in my opinion. Definitely, it wasn't entirely what I was expecting. There wasn't really a little bit much of a tension. I feel like the original premise that I was kind of hoping for was what I was hoping to see, but it ended up not happening, sadly. Not to say that's a bad thing per se, but it's still very much like, okay, you know what, I could have, I would have hoped for something a little bit more, but we didn't entirely get that, which, again, is totally fine, in my opinion, about it. But, anywho, with that being said, however, I think this was still a very nice episode. Definitely, I feel like this was the episode where they figured out, okay, no, this is going to be our last season, so everything that they were kind of like, cliffhangering wise for the end of season 4 into that hopeful season 5 we were all hoping to get was now being converted to, like, okay, this is going to be the final ending for these characters. So, sorry about the loud noise, but still, I still think this was still a very good episode. Definitely, I'm still very particular because, we're wrapping it up. It's kind of like, okay, are you really going to get everything done in these last 2 episodes? I really don't know. This was more like kind of like closing some minor ends, but definitely they were still trying to, like, figure out that this was going to be the beginning of more stuff. But, we'll see how this all goes. We'll see how it all ends. But for now, let's go for the butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of Nancy Drew. So we kick off where we last left off. Nancy has been kidnapped by the Glasses. They're in an RV. Not what I was expecting, but you know what? I'm very much engaged to have Nancy go on like a very much of a verbal, more emotionally charged one-on-two with the Glasses as they're, trying to, like, chill, don't worry, we're going to make this as painless as you can. This is for the larger good, so to speak. Which I'm like, no, it really isn't. Like, it's not fully proven. Of course, Nancy's mindset is like, what did I even do to, like, even commit this entire sin? Why would I even be selected? But they're not giving answers. Thankfully, but also like, okay, they're kind of like, this was like really too quick. Ryan comes in. He manages to locate her and saves her pretty quickly. So, so he's able to free her pretty quickly, which I'm like, okay, I'm like a little bit bummed because, like, I was kind of hoping, like, we would get, like, Nancy, like, being held hostage by the Glasses and then her trying to find a way to, like, just talk to them and get more backstory about them. It would have been nice, to be honest with you, because, like, considering the fact you could say the Glasses were the antagonists for season 4, but at the end of the day, like, they were kind of like, then and there, like, they were only an antagonist force when they felt like to be, which can be different, mind you. And again, Nancy Drew never had, like, a traditional villain until Temperance. So, I mean, I really don't know. I'm a little bit indifferent in that. But yeah, so he gets Nancy out of there pretty quickly. The rest of the Drew crew is alerted to his success. So everyone's kind of like already leisurely going back to everything else they were doing. Ace, who was just completely oblivious of the whole thing, is wrapping up a very, very meaningful conversation with the ghost. It seems like he really likes her. However, his parents come in to interrupt the festivities as they tell Ace that sadly their Passover feast has been ruined because their fridge broke because they lost power. So they do not have the food for tonight. But they thankfully hired the Claw to cater the Passover event for them. And obviously Ace gets to invite all of his friends to this thing, and also it's gonna be the first time that Ace is going to be leading the Passover. He's old enough. He's ready to take the helm. He's obviously a little bit worried because, like, again, it's honestly kind of like what I'm going through right now in my personal life, where, like, something that your parents or your father or your mother have always done for your entire life, and they're like, okay, now it's your turn to, like, take over, like, see what you're made of, and you're obviously going to be a little bit worried. Like, it's a big responsibility. It's a family tradition. It's not, and plus it's also in your religion, so it's something that can really be, you can't really mess it up. So, like, obviously Ace has the entire pressure on him right now to make this all work. George and Nick are researching something related to what Nick has to do. I completely lost track of what he's doing. They're looking at something, and George's sisters, all of them this time, not just oh damn! I forgot her sister's name. I apologize. I mean, we've seen the older one before, a couple in the beginning of the season, but I forgot what her name was. But they all show up. They wanted to give them some books that can help them on their mission to defeat the Sin Eater. Obviously, they're asking, where the hell did you even get these books? And they're like, we go to garage sales and yards, of which I'm like, again, you're in a small town. What are the odds you're finding this literary material specifically focused on the supernatural, paranormal that we're investigating? Again, in this small town, it's just too coincidental that, like, you can't just be getting this from a yard sale of all places. So that's a little fishy, but of course, obviously, they're a little distracted right now to really focus about that. Nancy returns back to her castle. Obviously, she's still really shaken up about what just occurred. And, so right now it just seems like, okay, that's pretty much all said and over. But, of course, Nancy's still thinking about, what did I do that caused me to be on the list? What did I have to confess? What did I get my sin erased to put myself in this situation? What did I do? Ryan's like, there's nothing you can do right now. The memory's gone. The most you can do right now is, like, we got to find another way to save Tristan. That's all we can really do right now. And hopefully that's the last we saw of the glasses. Spoilers, it won't be, so to speak. I want to say after that point, we get to, we're back at the Claw. For some reason, Ace is loitering around. Actually, no, wait, my bad. They didn't go to the castle. They went back to the Claw. Bess overheard them, made a loud noise, and Bess overheard the entire thing about it. It seemed like Bess knows what she did. That's kind of like the vibe I'm getting off her. They're like, hey, look, it is what it is. There really isn't much you can do. Also, Bess kind of, tattletales on Ace, saying that, hey, look, Ace didn't want me to let you know, but there's been a ghost. There's been like a Jane Doe at his morgue, and the ghosts came out of it, and now her and Ace are getting really, really close to each other. And, Ace will never ask you to help out with this, like, what actually happened to her, because, like, Ace is happy right now. And, all Nancy can really do is, like, okay, I will try not to get involved. I suppose this is Nancy we're talking about. At some point she'll get involved, because this is how she is as a character. We cut to a little bit later where Ace is still talking to the ghosts, talking to her about Passover, about their traditions and everything. Thankfully, his dad can't understand shit that what he's saying, so when he walks in the freezer, he has no idea what the hell Ace is doing, especially the fact he's been in the freezer for so damn long. Where was I going with that? Again, Ace is still not 100% confident with taking over Passover, and, his dad's like, I know. And it's like, well, you can't really know anything now because, like, it's a little bit too late, but, I'm going to give you this book. This should help you on your quest to figure this out. And I wish you good luck, and hopefully that you will perform great tonight. George is trying to converse with Bess about something, but Bess is obviously miles and miles away with everything going wrong in her life. She really has no choice but to, like, be a little bit distant from herself right now. And even, like, she's, like, not really in the best condition right now. Like, something is really affecting her. Like, just nothing in her life is going right with her. Nothing in her life right now. I do want to say eventually Nancy gets a lead that sends her over to the hospital to check up on a particular doctor, I believe. I forgot how the chain of events worked on that, but she heads over there. She runs into Carson's ex-girlfriend, who just says like, "Oh, I'm there because I went to go see my the foot doctor, Patricia, podiatrist." And Nancy's like, "Okay, good to know," and she kind of continues on her merry way to go do what she needs to do over there. Because I believe she's trying to get some information about what her sin was, but it doesn't really help her out of anything. George is still at the claw, finishing up the preparation for the Passover feast, and a customer walks in. She tries to dismiss him away because it's for a private event, but no, it turns out to be the same judge that George tried to do her courtship with many episodes ago. And obviously George doesn't want to talk to him. It's like, you basically destroyed yourself. Your reputation's done. You're no longer a lawyer or even a judge. Like, your future is basically in shambles, which is a very shitty way to say, like, you dumb fucked up guy. You dumb fucked up. I apologize. When I get into tea, I really get into tea. I apologize. But, and also, like, talking this much, it puts us straight in my throat. Where was I going with that? Okay, so the judge is there. It's like, if there's anything I can do right now, because I'm trying to reach out to, I believe her name is Mackie or something. The person he kind of indirectly hurt during his shadiness days. He's trying to reach out to her, but she's not picking up his calls. And Joe's like, "Look, I ain't here to help you or anything. You on your own. Like, all I'm gonna try and just advise you to do is just move on with your life. Like, I got so much other things to deal with the Sin Eater right now." And he's like, "Oh, I can help you out with that. Like, what do you want me to do?" And she's like, "Well, technically, you would need to confess your sin. A freaking disgusting creature will come to you, take away your sin, and then by that point, you will be the most recent Sin Eater victim. So, you will basically be allowed to go and die." And he's like, "You know what? Fuck it. I got nothing else to do, so why not?" And she's like, "Great, that works out even more better in my case." Obviously, it's like, I'm just thinking this guy has literally, it's kind of like another way of saying he's basically committing suicide, which I'm like, I'm not going to get into that right now, but still, so going from that point onwards, I want to say we get to next. Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go to next? Yeah, sorry, my brain's a little bit paddling with this episode. To be honest with you, I know George and Nick and Ryan team up. They go back to the RV to where Nancy was being held to try and find any remaining clues that the glasses left behind. Which they do find something. They do find out that this is not the glasses RV. This is the RV related to the person who is supposedly keeping an eye on the Sin Eaters, victims, whoever's confessing and everything. She has put a small, tiny camera at the area of where you're, washing your hands when you're doing the ceremony. And she's taking pictures of everyone who goes there. And apparently it turns out to be whoever it is. And, sadly, Ryan tried matching up the RV to any existing people alive, but it's all shell companies. However, Nick's like 1, 2, 3. He finds out who the person is, and it turns out to be the same woman who's been against Bess all along, trying to shut down the Historic Society. It's that same woman, and they're like, okay, now it's starting to make a little bit of sense. Not really, but close enough. So they go over to the new Historic Society, which looks like a damn freaking gift shop. Which I'm like, what did you do to this place? It's like Santa Claus 3, where Jack Frost took over the North Pole and basically commercialized it. It's basically what it is, but it's like, who's going to the Historic Society to buy? I'm going to go on a little rant right now. I'm going to go on a little bit of rant. Actually, I won't go too deep into the rant. It's more when museums have gift shops, and I'm not talking about the big scale museum. I'm talking about the smaller, the niche, museums that have gift shops. What people are coming in often to sustain employment. And I know right now we're in a recession, definitely there's an issue with the job market. I know all that. I'm not trying to be mean or anything. And of course, obviously you're going to say, no, you are kind of being mean, which I'm like, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. You can't really prove me wrong. But what I will say is that I do not see why does this thing need to happen? Why? But basically, they're trying to interrogate her, and it's like, you know what? I'm doing nothing wrong. I don't know what the heck you're talking about. But similar to Bess, if you intervene anymore, I will call the police for you trespassing. Nick then just notices George's sister's like sliding in there, taking books off the off the area. It turns out they've been actually just rummaging through the historic society, acting like customers, and they've been like, you're just stealing the books back for them. And Nick's like, this is not good. Like, if you get caught, you go into prison, and you guys are too young to go to prison, or even juvie, to that matter. So definitely, this is not the motivation, the actions that you should be doing right now. But they all leave him behind. I want to say eventually Nancy heads back over to the castle. Carson gives her a call. Nancy's like, I got nothing really for you. Like, I'm pretty swamped right now. Like, I'm trying to figure all this out. Also, your ex-girlfriend was at the hospital for something, and Carson's asking so many questions. Like, wait, what's she there for? I didn't know that she had a problem with that. Why she didn't tell me? And I'm like, bro, you technically told her, like, let's take a break. Like, you shouldn't be surprised that she's like, I'm not going to communicate with you for a while. Like, that shouldn't come out of the blue. Where was I going with that? So after that point, Nancy gets a text gets a call from Mrs. Glasses, who tells her, like, yeah, you're gonna be at the ritual site no matter what at 10 o'clock tonight. And she's like, no, you actually should be lucky you're not in prison right now for kidnapping me. And she's like, oh, don't worry about that. Do not worry about that whatsoever, because here's what's gonna happen. If you don't show up at 10 o'clock at night, we put a little relic inside your spine base. And if you don't commit to what we want you to do, we will kill you wherever you are at 10 o'clock at night. And, Nancy sees her coming into the castle. Like, seriously, Nancy should really lock her damn doors. It's like, I know it's a business, but I'm like, it's also your private residence. So I'm like, you should really lock your doors. You really should. Like, it's a safety violation by this point. She walks in. She paralyzes Nancy just to prove to her, like, yeah, I have full control of you no matter where you are. So don't even try running away. Like, you are under time clock. You will be at the forest at 10 o'clock. And that's all we're going to write there. After that, it's nighttime. We're at the Passover event. Ace invites everyone except Nancy. And what I mean by everyone but Nancy, I mean everyone but Nancy. You got the Drew crew sans Nancy. You have his parents. You have their traditional ASL interpreter for wherever, they do these, like, non-familiar, like, this bigger family gatherings. Carson is there. Carson's ex-girlfriend is there. And I'm just like, bruh, how many people did you invite to this damn thing? Like, are you really trying to be a stick in the mud to Nancy? Like, yeah, you're not invited to this thing whatsoever. But yeah, so they start performing the motions of the ceremony. Actually, this is the first time I've ever seen a Passover ceremony in my entire life. Like, I've never actually, witnessed it. And they're going through the motions, like, actually, like, this isn't like a traditional, like, oh, we're going to start at the beginning and then we're going to fast forward to the end. No, we're actually going through the steps. So that's honestly pretty cool that they did that. Like, I actually give, like, insight and knowledge to people who don't know what they're doing, like me. I don't know what the hell they're doing, and honestly, it was actually pretty interesting to get to know more of that. So kudos to the writers for doing so. Of course, Nancy crashes the whole thing, tells Beth, hey, get in the office right now. I need you right now, which she has no choice but to do so. Nancy tells Beth, like, things have changed right now. I have, like, a time limit right now. So I got no choice, but I want to solve Ace's murder. Like, maybe not Ace's murder, Ace's ghost's murder. So I'm like, if maybe I can help out with that, maybe she can help me out. I don't know what the connection is. I don't know why Nancy's so gung-ho about this, but, like, you know what? Let me solve one more mystery before I die. But meanwhile, Bess, if there's anything you can do to, like, help me out, I would greatly appreciate it. Bess is like, fine, I'll go do it. But if you die, you die. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, what the hell's going on here? Like, did I miss an episode or something? Because, like, I'm a little bit baffled right now. I'm a little bit lost. But I know I'm not baffled. I know that. It's kind of a little bit weird, in my opinion. Meanwhile, the entire Passover ceremony is kind of falling apart a little bit. Nick confronts George about the judge, and she's like, well, I'm trying to save Nancy. It's better to try and save the judge than to save Nancy. But, of course, Nick, being the logistical one, says, like, well, what happens if the judge dies? Like, we are not the people that are going to sacrifice a life to save one of our own. We are not that life. We are not. That we are going to try and save everyone we can and not put anyone in jeopardy just to save one of us. And George's like, okay, fine. You win the moral argument. You win. I will do what I can to talk him out of it. George also talks to, Nick talks to George's sisters as well about the stealing of the books, but of course they do not really listen to them, saying that, George has asked them plenty of times to come help out, whatever is really necessary. And as much as he appreciates it, like, this isn't like the correct path how they should be doing for. There's many different ways you can help out, legally speaking, that you won't get in trouble with the court of law. So definitely that is, like, actually pretty respectful advice. So please always listen to Nick about this. So yeah, Nancy begins to summon up the ghosts. They manage to talk for just a tad bit before the spirit gets angry that Nancy's just asking her questions about her murder, and that it's definitely not the reaction that was expecting. Nick, I'm not. Ace notices all this happening. He goes into the back room and he sees like a very small storm developing in the back room with the ghost taking a corporal form. She's mad as all hell, and Ace is like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna shut this down right now." So he goes to Nancy. He tells her this stuff like, "Why are you doing this? Like literally, why?" Like, and he gets so mad. Like this entire, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is like the best scene in the episode where like Ace is like releasing all of his anger in Nancy. They've had such an uphill battle, a very complex history this season, and everything that Ace has been feeling, the repression, the anger, the sadness, everything comes out in this speech where like he's finally happy. It's a ghost. Like, let's be honest, he fell in love with a ghost. But like this is the first thing he's genuinely been happy. Because again, like, let's be another clear honest here. Like, as much as the Drew crew's still together, like they're still like trying to keep everything together. Ace has not been happy whenever Nancy and him are in the same room. He has not been happy since they kind of like unofficially broke up. Like, he has not been happy. Like, that everyone's kind of like, with him, and he, of course, obviously isolated his job for long periods of time without any contact from the Drew crew outside of Besson and such. So I'm not surprised that he is legitimately mad at Nancy, especially like she's trying to mess with like the only source of happiness he has left, which I'm like, I don't care. Do not solve her murder. She does not want to be solved. Like, she'd rather stay her entire, like, standstill of, like, an afterlife with me. I don't care. Like, I'd rather have that, and you're ruining it. So, regardless of that, they ended in, like, they kind of, like, again, like, they have a whole blow-up and everything, and I guess that's where the Passover event ends, quite frankly. And then everyone starts simmering off. Bess heads back to the Historic Society. She runs into George's sister. And they find a device that's going to be helpful to getting the little relic out of Nancy's spine. Sadly, the new owner of the Historic Society, that the same woman that Nick and Ryan were investigating earlier, is also there. And she's like, "Yep, I told you. You come over here. I'm gonna call the police. I'm gonna call the cops right now." And Bess is like, "Wait, hold on. Like, just stop right now. We can talk about this. We can talk about this." But thankfully, Nick shows up and explains like what's going on. Wait, does Nick show up yet? I don't believe so. I really don't believe so. Sorry, I'm really sporadic here. Also, during the Passover conversation, I forgot a crucial thing, because Carson was just not being so subtle about the whole foot thing, which I'm like, Carson, if the woman doesn't want you to know, she does not want you to know, and my hair's a mess. Please just leave it there. And eventually she admits, like, I'm pregnant, okay? I don't have a problem with my feet. I'm pregnant with your child. And Carson's like, oh. Shit, I honestly was not expecting that whatsoever. I'm talking about me. I was not expecting that whatsoever. So yeah, Nancy then gets a text from Tristan supposedly with the seashell saying that, "Do you want to come see me tonight?" And Nancy responds. She heads over there, but sadly it is a trap by the glasses to go kidnap her, which it works again. Nancy, you are just... I feel like it's just best for you, Nancy. Just stay away from the glasses. Just stay far away. It just seems like it is not your cup of tea right now to be winning any of this. So yeah, so beyond that point, that's eventually at the same time where Nick and George also pick up on Nancy's location that she's in an abnormal place, meaning that she's in trouble yet again. So everyone scrambles to go get her back once again. It's like, how many times we gotta save Nancy in this damn episode? They're about to begin the ritual. They put Nancy in the middle, and they're about to begin. They summon the Sin Eater over to consume her so that he can go back to normal. Thankfully, Nick knocks out the phone with the app that can kill Nancy right now. They knock it over. They manage to subdue the glasses, saying that they do anything. They're both dead. There's nothing they can do right now. The dad almost gets to the device itself. Nancy pleads with him, saying that you can kill me right now. You can let the Sin Eater kill me, but Tristan will know what you did, and he'll never forgive you. You will never have your son again. So I'm like, is that really the consequence that you want to take? Thankfully, Mr. Glass sees the reason. He drops the device. He lets them get arrested, and it's like, okay, yeah, thankfully, Nancy is saved for now at least. So picking back onwards, Yeah, so Nick and George have a meeting with the rest of George's sisters, just basically telling them, like, there are other ways you can help. You do not need to steal. Like, definitely, there are other things you can do. Do not worry about, thinking about stealing or anything. Like, that is not necessary. We always find a way somehow, even though y'all also do illegal stuff. But whatever, it is what it is. Like, it's pick or choose of what you want to do. George and Nick also have a talk about, just things going on. It turns out Nick is going on a road trip of sorts, kind of like to explore a different path for himself, trying to, like, see the world again and trying to figure out where does he belong in the road. Obviously, George is still reminding him about, like, their promise they made back in season 3 about when they broke up, that they wanted to do other things. They didn't want to, like, just stay in Horseshoe Bay forever. And, as much as, this entire season has been about, like, what is Nick's place in Horseshoe Bay, maybe it's possible it belongs somewhere else for the time being. And, George is like, yeah, but, that's the whole point of, like, what we agreed upon, to, like, explore other avenues, go on other roads, and see where life may take us. Also forgot to mention, George and Nick also managed to save the judge. She managed to talk him out of it, promising him that, like, I will help you get in touch with Maggie so you can, like, make your forgiveness with her, or, redeem your sins over her. So thankfully that also worked out as well. Ace also manages to get in touch with the ghost again. This time she forgives him, and also she manages to take as much incorporeal form as this time so that they can actually physically touch each other. They do not kiss, but they do, like, kind of like connect hands, which is like also pretty sweet as well. Carson has to talk with his ex-girlfriend, and she admits the reason why she didn't want to get Carson involved because, Carson just finally got Nancy out of the house, and she didn't want to stick Carson with another 18-year commitment. And Carson's, like, pretty open to the fact he wants to have a kid. Remember, Carson never had a biological kid. Like, Nancy is not his biological kid. So the fact that, he might have a chance to be a dad again, to be able to, like, have a proper daughter or a son or a child, this could be great for him. Like, so definitely he's open to this possibility. I want to say Ace also gets the blessing of his father, saying that, you did a great job. From now on, you're the leader. You've taken over officially, and, you'll do a much better job come next year, for next year's Passover. So, again, still, like, ironing out them. Like, they had some issues last season. Definitely now they're, like, moving on. They're kind of, like, actually now finally at peace. So that's actually pretty cool to hear from them. Nancy also gets in touch with Ryan again. Ryan gives her all the photographs that they got from the RV. They also managed to, I think they bought the mind control device from the lady. It turns out the lady was part of a family that had control of the Sin Eater for all time, and so she's been the one controlling and removing people's sins in order to keep the peace in the town. So, yeah, so I want to say they bought it off her. Yeah, I forgot if they do, but if they do, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe they buy off the device from her, so now all they got to do left is cure Tristan of the Sin Eater, so that's all really they have left to do. So that's at the same time Ryan shows Nancy the photograph that they had about her, that confessing her sins. And then, like, while I will not give her the answer she needs, like, it definitely could provide them for closure, to provide them, like, what is next for them to do. And honestly, yeah, that's pretty, it was a little bit, like, closed chapter a little bit, but Nancy really thinks about it. She looks at the time code and everything, and, she runs over to Ace, letting him know, like, okay, do you remember the night when we were celebrating my mother's memoriam, and you gave me a call? The call took place at 11:21, and I was at the Sin Eater site at 11:47. So something happened between us at that night, and I have a feeling it's related to your Mary Jane ghost, or no, Jane Doe ghost. And Ace is like, okay, but Ace didn't commit a sin, or he didn't call the Sin Eater. So, and it doesn't seem like he also knows about it as well. So I'm like, it leaves a little bit more questions as we end off the episode a little bit ambiguous. Like, did they commit a murder? Like, did they do something wrong? Like, what the hell happened? Like, this is not on character for them. And obviously we'll wait till next week to figure out what the heck this all means. But that was it for this week's episode of Nancy Drew. Again, this was kind of like, not like a filler episode per se, but this definitely felt like the last of, like, this is the last regular, like, not end of the world-ish, end of the day-ish episode for the characters. Again, we're moving into the last 2 episodes of the series, so definitely now, like, the stakes are much higher than ever of, like, trying to fix everything and resolve everything before we say goodbye to these characters once and for all. Definitely focusing this being more like an Ace-heavy episode with more about his religion, actually getting to see it, him, like, kind of, like, allowing him to have some sort of, like, proper emotional closure with his dad and everything. Him and the ghost. Like, definitely this felt like more like an Ace episode in all points. And, definitely having Bess, George, and Nick all trying to, like, figure out, like, a part of their future, figure out their character, their direction. At some point in this episode definitely was helpful, definitely allowed us to see more of them as characters, which is cool, which is always cool to see. And yeah, the glasses again. I've never really been sold about them on attacking, and that's the only bummer. Like, Tempers really set the bar a little bit too high for them, and like, and again, there is no proper villain this season, to come to say the least of it. But definitely just seeing this all come together for the glasses. Like, this is probably the end of them as characters, which I'm like, okay, it is what it was. Like, they just needed like a physical, like, human antagonist again to fight, and like there you go. There was your there's your cue there. But generally speaking, again, like, Nancy and Ace's relationship this season has been the crown jewel, and just seeing their scenes together always, like, always are, the highlights of this, because like it's all building towards what their end game is. And while we still don't know what the proper end game is going to be yet, it very much is like, I can't wait to see how this is all going to come to an end. And definitely, what the hell, how are they involved with the Jane Doe ghosts? I'm a little bit curious. I'm a little bit concerned how they're going to wrap it all up, but we'll find out very, very soon. But with that being said, I'm giving this episode 2 thumbs up. I still enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this week's episode of Nancy Drew. I would love to have the conversation with you down below as always. But I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's 2 from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the final season of Nancy Drew. If you want to know what we're doing normally, wants to do besides our Nancy Drew episode reviews, currently right now we are doing Heels episode reviews and High School Musical, the series episode reviews each and every week after a brand new episode that premieres on their respective platforms. Sans High School Musical, which all the episodes drop, we're currently working through that. It's going to be a long road. We only done 1 episode. There's still 8 more videos to produce, so I'm not out of the woodworks just quite yet. But if you don't care about Nancy Drew, you're in luck. Next week is the penultimate episode of the whole show. So remember, next week is the penultimate episode review. The week after that is the series finale review. And then finally, in the last week of August, will be our season 4 review. No spoilers edition. And yeah, that's kind of all that says and done about that for the time being. But again, so I'll see you guys next week. But again, once again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Like, favorite, share if you want to. Ring the bell and follow on social media. But until we see each other again, for all you members of the Drew crew out there, I'll see you all next week. But until next time, stay safe out there. Be good to each other. And as always, peace out.